pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody had a chance to read through the minutes from February 22nd? Okay, so Neil moved, a second?
Second.
Don, okay, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, next I'd like to introduce, everybody knows Lynn Billings, our new town assessor. So just kind of thought maybe Lynn could just kind of give you a quick rundown of what she's done and how she's pretty much caught up. And maybe ahead.
Yeah, we've been working on data collection, valuing new constructions, kind of going through what the building inspector's been working on the last 6 months or so, updating inventory and images for the 2022 assessment roll, and learning a lot of new stuff. Barry and Lori and Mark at the real property office have all been wonderful, just with teaching and answering questions, and it's going well.
Super.
Yeah.
And congratulations on your certification. You got a 98. I think I had
Thank you.
reported that at the last meeting. That's wonderful. And I have to say, when Lynn started, that desk just had piles on that desk from over the months. And we couldn't believe it. Every couple days, there was like another whole pile gone. And it was like, wow, she's really on it here. So, good job. Anything else you want to say? No? Anybody have any questions for Lynn? Anything? No? Okay, so we'll move on. If you'd like to go, you're more than welcome to go. Okay, so next we have Highway, Randy.
Okay, well, I'll start with the minor stuff. As far as buildings go, there has been issues, with the, let's call it sump pumps for the water that's collected and pushed through, the oil separator, then from the oil separator into the tank that we then take to water treatment. So the first problem was back in December, the one that takes it from the oil separator to the storage tank gave us some problems. We took it out, we cleaned it, we washed it, we basically banged it on its side and it started working. So we put it back in and knock on wood, it's still going. Then in February, for probably twice now, maybe 3 times now, we've had problems with the one that takes it from the shop floor, brings it to the oil separator. Now there's a third pump in the system that collects the school bus garage and the water, wash bay. That also is the same pump that pumps it through the oil separator. These pumps, as you see in the bills, are very expensive, explosion-proof pumps. That pump also, we were able to take out, clean, hit it with a hammer, and it's more than likely the bearings are going in them. They've both been in service for the same amount of time. We put them all, when we revamped, I think Neil, you were there when we did this whole water separator thing. So there's 3 of these, and I felt that we should have one here in stock. We have not installed it yet, and hopefully we, when we do swap one out, we can find a pump service place, because now we used to do it in Albany, send that old one out and have it rebuilt. I don't want to get into replacing $12,000 worth of pumps, but we should have one for,
Spare.
because if one goes down, then we're swimming in it, literally. And then the one that goes in the oil separator goes down, we're all swimming, because it shuts the whole system down.
Kind of like the reverse osmosis deal. We have one spare one on the shelf in case one fails.
Good plan.
Yeah.
Get the other one rebuilt.
That's why you saw it in the bills, that's why that's there. The other thing that hasn't hit the bills yet, but will, probably the next time around, is I finally received a third, bid on a New York rake that we put in the budget to replace this year. I had to rebid it because everybody's bids specifically said good for 30 days. And now we're well beyond that, being that I bid it back in October when we were doing the budget stuff. So the bids did go up about $700, but we put in the budget more than that because I expected it, everything's going up nowadays. So, just let me know that that's, the low bid came in at, $9,110, which was $1,200 cheaper than the next one, which was $300 cheaper than the one after that. So, it does pay to put out bids.
Is that for behind the tractor?
Behind the truck, you know, our York rake, the big one,
Okay, the big
the road rake,
yeah,
that's been there probably 5 years longer than I have.
yeah.
So, I think that's what the old timers told me. When I came there, it was then, so. Then the stone bids that I got a resolution to go out for bid, I wrote up a whole bid package per se, and Betsy sent that out to the lawyer. We have not received that back, the okay to, that it is, I guess, legal. So when we get that back, we will be sending it out. I'm betting that things are changing now that we're seeing some very large influx of fuel prices, and stone is made by a lot of fuel. So I expect our blacktop and our stone bids to be astronomical and probably have a clause in the bottom that says they're gonna have the right to change. I'm pretty much betting that.
Yeah.
So grooming has completely ceased at this point, obviously. Hopefully we get snow, but we don't. I don't see any in the long distance that's gonna cause us to go back out grooming. We have dirt and mud everywhere.
Just overall curious grooming breakdowns, did we,
We're doing very well.
Okay.
Please don't jinx it.
I'm not, no, just don't say that. Just in the past.
I think we're under $1,000
Cool.
for a year. That's,
Yeah, that's,
we're doing very well.
that's a resident.
Yes.
And
When will you close the gates on Perkins clearing?
when I can see the dirt on that first, what I usually wait for, you know, the first sunny hill.
Yeah, because I was reading Fulton County has closed theirs.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, a couple of them have completely closed, and a couple of them are, you know, just shutting parts of the trails down. To go around and actually shut all our trails down would be a nightmare, and people would still come.
Yeah,
So,
go around them.
yeah, we can shut the gates in Perkins Clearing, but if they go in by Pond Lake and Oxbow end, they're trapped.
Still going out.
And
Yeah, but they would never make it.
no, no. Well, I'm not putting it past them, so. Okay, so the next is a lovely packet I put in front of everybody. I have the grown-up, blown-up version. It is the Mountain Culvert that I've been talking about for, 2 years now. This is the engineer's plans, which we're at, and he wants to send them out to have them put out to bid. They, you know, there's 2 or 3 county projects going on this summer in the area, or so said, same, almost bridges. So if we get these bids out early, we may be able to have a company bid on this and, you know, do one right after the next type deal. So it's, the timing is, you know, somewhat convenient that they're doing the Oxbow Bridge and so on and so forth. Just the same construction process. So I'm assuming I'm gonna get from Tracy a list of all the contractors that he sends his bridge projects out to. I really shouldn't use the word bridge, but it's a span, is what it's called. It's, as you can see in the plans, if you look down deep enough, they drive metal sheet steel on either side, so there's no disturbance in any of the wetlands at that point. The road will be closed down for this project, so they'll have to go out Tamarack Road, everybody. And then they set concrete over the top of it, and then they pave it, and then put up guardrails. It's really a quick, simple process, but once they drive the sheet steel in, they dig out everything that's there now. And that's the only disturbance, is removing the man-made stuff that's there. And then it'll be an open channel between the 2 sections of that. There's no actual culvert going in there. It is terminology for the state and the FEMA, calling it a culvert replacement, because that's what we're doing, is replacing the culvert, but we're not replacing it with a culvert.
So it'll have a natural bottom on it.
It'll have a natural bottom on it, and these sheets, pieces of sheet steel are 30 feet long. So when they drive them all the way down into, basically down, just off of ledge, that anchors the whole thing. And then they just dig out everything that's around them, put riprap in to address, massive floods like we had, and set the concrete over the top and away they go. Paved that little section, if you look into some of the specs, it's 0.4 yards and 5 yards of blacktop.
It's not much.
No, it's like a truckload, because all they're doing is paving 20 feet.
Right. Will you be seeing the steel on the abutments, or will that be covered with concrete?
You'll be seeing the abutments, yes,
The steel?
yes. But there's riprap over most of it, to bring it back up to the natural, water level grade that's there.
Yeah, how long is that steel supposed to last?
That I do not know. I'm sure well beyond you and I. And the best part about it, Don, is we don't have to worry about it, because once this is built, we turn it over to the county. And it's the county's project from there on in. Hence, we're using the county's engineer because,
Sure.
They have interest in it, we'll call it.
Right, I mean, irrespective of whether this was damaged or whether we needed to fix this, the natural progression is all of the water crossings at some point will be counties, most of them are.
Yeah, anything, there's a number that's over,
Yeah.
I think it's 12 feet span, is turned into a county project once it's complete. So we won't ever have to replace this or do any work to it, replace the guardrails, anything. Once the engineer stamps it, says it's done, it's complete to his specs, we walk it over to the county and hand it to them and say, sure, here's a brand new.
How long do they expect the project to take?
I was told, it could be 2 to 3 months depending on, but that's depending on materials and so on and so forth.
And weather?
Yeah, and weather, so, just to let you know, we all know that FEMA's paying for 75%, the state's paying for 12.5%. So we only have to pick up the 12.5% of this whole project. That being said, this plan is Plan B in FEMA's book of playbook. So I have to get FEMA to go along. It's already in the whole thing that's being approved and all that. But I have to get them to acknowledge the fact that we are not doing Plan A, which was a 5-foot culvert going back in, with all kinds of stream disturbance, all kinds of wetlands disturbed, because I have to bury that, a third of it in the ground. So we have to basically dig up the whole swamp, and then the outlet wasn't gonna be deep enough, and they had to dig up more of the outlet. It just was ridiculous, and the cost was very prohibitive.
Of course.
And the APA probably wouldn't approve.
Well, not if, once we show them this, and say, no, we'd much rather do this, and they're like, yeah, that's what you're doing. And that's why the county does these, because it gets through the process way quicker.
Okay.
So I do need to, put this out to bid, or have the engineer, he does all of that. But I need a resolution from the board to allow him to put this out to bid. We will then get the bids in before the last meeting of April, which is going to be a big bid opening, because that's when the stone bids should also come in. And open up the bids. He'll be here that evening, looking over all the bids once they're open, because face it, I've never done this. That's why we hired an engineer to take care of this project. And then we'll accept or decline all, whatever bids.
You need a resolution now, make a motion.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that was easy. Okay.
One other little, I wasn't done.
Well, you're done with that part.
With that part, one other note, April 8th is Kevin Ayers' last day. So the next meeting, I will be asking to advertise for a position. I have yet to figure out what position I'm going to finagle that into. It's probably going to be an MEO. He's an HEO at this point, but I wanna start somebody off as an MEO and then, you know, move whoever, play the shuffle game.
Right.
So just to let you know, that's probably the next meeting, I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
And that'll give me 2 weeks to figure out, you know, for applications to come in, then I can hire somebody.
Okay.
Springtime is a little low in the labor force time, so we can, if that person has to give 2 weeks notice or whatever, we're not gonna be, you know.
Are people answering the application?
I have one in, one possibly coming in, so.
And if you don't like any of the applicants, what's your?
We will wait till we find one that we do.
Yeah, luckily it's a slow time of
It's
year.
a slow time of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, if this was November, December, then it'd be a
Be a
different game.
different
But
game.
we have times on our side at this point,
Yep, absolutely. For change, huh?
for a change,
For change.
yeah. Okay, that's all I have,
All done.
all done.
Nothing
But
else.
I reserve the right to.
Okay, so we'll start with old business, the museum fundraiser. I have to say, Chris has done a phenomenal job with this. We're now up to $23,807.
Wait.
We only have to get up to, not only, but we have to do 50. We have to reach 50,000 and then the matching grant would be another 50. So she's almost halfway there, so.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and
Months
really,
ahead of schedule.
the check, yes, and the checks are still coming in. She's done a very good job
That's
with this.
amazing.
Yeah,
Keep
so
it
I just
done.
wanted to let you know that. Our capital reserve groomer fund update, the permissive referendum notice for the groomer reserve fund was advertised in the Hamilton County Express and is posted in Stephanie's shadow box at Town Hall. At this time, we have not heard from anybody. The permissive referendum is for 30 days and the 30th day will be up on March 24th. Just that everyone knows that. That was kind of just an informational thing. The landfill post-closure update, we have received payments from 3 of the 4 towns. We only have 1 remaining and I have already done up a second bill to send out. If I don't get it by Thursday afternoon, Friday, the second bill is going to go out as a reminder to the 1 town. And then that will be done for the year. The Clean Energy Communities Program, I have to apologize, guys, I have to table it because I really just ran out of time this past week and a half to get that completed. I need to sit down with Bob and then make the phone call so that Bob can verify exactly what classes he took to see if those classes will count as points towards the program, because the whole idea of Bob doing that in October was for this purpose. And now she's sort of saying it doesn't, so I think she needs to hear exactly what he took, when, and I think that that will help us. So.
Can our new person get points for taking the classes, or?
He would have to go take classes.
Yeah.
And he's already gonna be taking classes, so, yeah,
What
he's
would
tied
that
up for
say?
6 weeks. You know, the class is actually the one class that would have counted as 1 or 2 points was last week in Ilion, but I kind of felt with our building inspector going to classes, it was kind of a lot to ask him to do that as well. So anyway, I have 1 add-on under new business, our building inspector, I had forwarded a letter of resignation from Eric Ash to you all. I'm sorry that this didn't work out for Eric and his family, as they did have to move back to Ohio to take care of his ill mother. It was kind of unexpected. I did contact Steve Page, who had applied back in November, and thank God he was very interested in taking the position. Steve is more than qualified. He is a civil engineer and he has worked with many of our contractors in the past. We really have been very blessed to have Steve right there on the back burner. So I kind of sent you all Eric's resignation and kind of filled you in what happened, what went on last week. So basically tonight I temporarily hired Steve. He came in today just to kind of get to know the computer a little bit. But I'm looking for a motion to hire Steve 4 days a week as our full-time building inspector.
So.
Okay, Neil?
Second.
Kathy? Okay. Is there any discussion? I will add that Bob will be working with Steve, as Eric had to already leave, he's already gone. So Bob came in early this morning just to kind of get Eric into the system, fill him in on the Williamson program, and now they're getting him now set up with the Williamson program. So, any other questions? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? I will also add that tomorrow, wanted to wait till after tonight, Steve can register for training with the state. The classes start on Monday, March 28th. The training is 4 days a week, every other week, with a test on the off week, one day.
They're still doing this remotely?
Yes, still remotely. And this training is for 6 weeks, so he would be certified by the end of May. He'll have his certification completed. But in the meantime, just to remind everyone, Bob was up in Lake Placid last week to keep his certification up until Steve is completely done and certified. So if we have issues, we do have a certified building inspector on standby. Any questions with any of that information? Everybody
Did you say how
comfortable?
many hours a day the training was? I know it's.
The training is from 8:45, I think, until 3 or 3:30. Yeah,
And how many days a week?
4 days a week.
4 days.
And then the following week, I believe it's on Wednesday, there's a test. So Steve will be in the office on those off days. He may even be in the office to take the training right in the office. That's up to him, what he's comfortable with. You know. Any other questions? No?
Do you want a resolution to accept the resignations that are not necessary?
Yeah, I kind of think, you think it's necessary?
I don't.
Okay. Okay, so that's basically our update. Let's hope that this is the last leap that we have to take on a building inspector, and this is hopefully done. And Lynn will be working with Steve in the same office this week, so she'll get to meet Steve. He's a great guy. I don't really know him, but he came in today and very easy to talk to and work with, and isn't afraid to ask questions, and got very familiar with where things are and how we all do things, what our jobs are in the office. So I'm optimistic. It's
Yeah, I'm
someone
sure the
local.
training
Very,
will be welcome to him, but no surprises. I mean,
Right.
He hasn't been out of the trades that long.
right.
And he's got a lot of wealth of knowledge.
Okay, so the next I have is the resolution. What, sorry?
Did we vote?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And all in favor, no
Just
one
not paying
opposed?
attention.
Neil and Kathy did. Okay.
Resignation.
So, next is the resolution to post the roads. It's that time of year again, so the county sends us a resolution requesting and authorizing the county highway superintendent to post weight restrictions on town roads for the year 2020. Whereas Vehicle and Traffic Law, Article 41, Section 1660 gives authority to the town board to post weight limits on town roads when the board deemed necessary to protect roads from harm during spring breakup. And whereas Vehicle and Traffic Law, Article 40, Section 1650 gives authority to the county superintendent of highways to post weight limits on county roads when the superintendent deems it necessary to protect county roads from harm during spring breakup. And whereas the town would need to place an ad in the local newspaper notifying the public of such postings, and whereas the county superintendent places a legal ad in the local newspaper notifying the public of such posting on county highways, and whereas the town roads are typically posted for the same duration as the county roads, and whereas the town board and highway superintendent believes that it would be in the interest of the town if the county superintendent posts weight restrictions on the town roads in conjunction with the county roads during spring breakup. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Lake Pleasant hereby requests and authorize the county superintendent of highways posting weight restrictions on town roads within the town of Lake Pleasant when it deems necessary for the calendar year 2022. Does someone want to move that?
Yes.
Okay, Michelle?
Okay.
So we're just, all of that just said the county highway superintendent
Posts the
speaking
roads.
for
Yes.
us.
Yeah.
And he does it for all the towns within the county.
And every year, it's
Seconded
nothing
by?
new.
Sorry,
Don took the second, I think it was.
John took the second?
took me a minute.
Okay, Is there any discussion, any further discussion?
Just in answer to Kathy, yes, that all of that was exactly just that, and it's done exactly the same every year.
Right.
It's
It
stupid
doesn't
for us to
change.
vote to post and go through the expense.
Well, we
and-
don't.
Yes,
We
because
post
they'll do it
first,
for us.
yes.
Right.
And they do it every year, they have the same signs.
We actually put the postings up.
Yeah.
He makes them, gives them to us, because he's gotta sign them, and then we put them up and down when he says.
But it gives a lot of continuity throughout the county, particularly for the
Absolutely.
timber.
And every
companies and
single
the
town and village,
Yes.
Yeah.
except for Wells, has him do it. Wells does their own.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? A lot of fun things, huh, Kathy, that are different.
Oh, that was funny.
Okay, so the next is a resolution to amend local law number 1 of 2008. I will read that. This one is easier to understand, I promise. To amend local law number 1 of 2008 zoning regulations of the town of Lake Pleasant. Whereas local law number 1 of 2008 set the building height at 35 feet, and the current town board, at the request of the planning board, is amending the local law number 1 of 2008 to set the building height at 40 feet to match the APA's restrictions. Be it resolved, the amended local law will follow local law number 1 of 2008 that repealed Part 1 of the Town of Lake Pleasant Code in its entirety and replaced it with a revised revision of Part 1 of the Town of Lake Pleasant Code entitled Zoning Regulations with following change. Whereas all maximum building heights for residential will be changed from 35 feet to 40 feet. Whereas this change of local law is subject to permissive referendum and a public hearing. Adopted by the following, would someone like to move this?
So moved.
Okay, Neil, a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay,
I would do so.
hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and once this is actually, the public hearing is over, then the town clerk will submit to the Department of State the documents on file that we have in town, and then it's up to the state to approve the local law. This can take, actually, believe it or not, up to 4 to 6 months from beginning to end. Okay, so we'll get that process started tomorrow.
So you don't want to build a tall building this summer.
Yeah, if you're 5 feet short. Wait,
Yeah, just don't put the peak on it.
Or the chimney.
Leave that
Does
section.
that include chimneys?
It
We'll leave
does.
the chimney
Leave the
off.
chimney off.
Leave the chimney off
From the
until.
ground level to the chimney. Remember, we learned that
Oh, yeah.
last month. Eric taught us that. Okay. Next is the Office of the Aging contract. I was contacted and they had requested the certificate of liability insurance, the certificate of attestation, I have a hard time saying that, of exemption from New York State Workers' Compensation. Now we're just waiting for them to send a copy of the new contract, and I'll go over it, and if it's no different at the next meeting, I'll be bringing it and asking for you folks to approve that. The current one does expire March 31st, so we should really be getting it in another week or so. Any questions on the Office of the Aging contract? And that is basically a grant for like the bus trips that we do for the seniors. Every quarter, I actually have to send in a copy of the receipt from the busing company, the names of the people that signed up for it and where they went. And I send that in on a quarterly basis, and then we get a percentage back to the town. So that's the Office of the Aging contract. Any questions on that? No? Okay. Next, we'll go to committee reports. Kathy, anything?
Not right now,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, Rochelle? Okay. Neil?
No, I have a question for their committee. I assume that the youth scheme goes by the boards whenever. Looks like we shut down a little earlier than usual, right?
They're supposed to have, I'm not 100% sure because there is not school Friday,
There's no.
but they're
school.
supposed to have their final makeup lesson Friday.
What's Friday?
There's a superintendent's conference Friday.
I haven't had kids
So
in
I'm not sure.
years.
that-
That I can't tell you.
Yeah.
To mine, last time when we closed early, they still had lessons Did they have lessons?
The one day that school closed, there were no lessons.
Because of what?
The weather was pretty bad, so they may still have the lessons.
And that's probably this makeup.
Yeah, but this will be the final makeup lesson if we make it that far.
Yeah, yeah, maybe, it's always good to get to Paxton, but I don't think we're gonna get there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, they can still have their pond skimming.
But the pond skimming's this coming weekend, so.
It's the 19th.
The 19th,
Yeah.
Right.
which
That's
is, yeah, so they're hoping for 2 more weeks.
Me too.
Shoot.
I hope so. Let's hope the weather changes.
No, I don't have anything committee.
Don? Nothing? Okay. Randy? Okay.
I'll be happy with that.
Okay, so next, I'm looking for a motion to pay the bills for March 4th.
Second.
Okay. Okay, any public comment? Paul?
Question.
Sure.
I think I know the answer, but, so I heard the phrase permissive referendum twice tonight. I'm guessing that is when you need to make a public
Yeah.
advertisement and get permission, so to
Yes.
speak, to make a referendum of some sort?
So
I mean,
in
how does that
how
work?
it works is after tonight, that will go in the legal ad in the
Right.
newspaper. It'll go in her shadow box, and we have to wait 30 days. The public has their chance to come into town hall with an opinion, or they can actually file a petition, and if they come in with the right signatures, then it really gets delayed, and we really get into a
It's a
lengthy.
statutory waiting period.
So basically, it's a statutory waiting period for a public comment, but it's not the same as when you put certain referendums to vote
Correct.
in an election.
Right,
It's
regular
less-
referendum has way more steps, and obviously it's gotta be done on
This has more flexibility.
either a special
discretion from the
election
board.
or election day. Permissive referendum is done just to make sure that things that have some gravity, you got regular resolutions that get passed in front of you all.
Right,
But then it's come, maybe we're getting rid of a piece of property or things that no one wants the public to think they ran a curveball by them. No one was at the meeting, we voted, and bang, bang.
so is
it's
that
a
the board's
waiting period.
discretion, is that how that works?
No, they're
I'm trying-
statutory things.
I'm trying to understand what the guidelines are
Right,
there.
and
Like,
a
you did
change
some
in-
things and not others, so I'm
Right,
just curious.
it's statutory by town law according to, in this case, a perfect example would be changing, amending of your zoning book.
Right, so that. there's
Something like
guideline
that
says
to
it has to
stretch
be done
out.
by permissive, okay,
Right.
I got you. Then I had one question for Mr. Lombardo, I was just curious, with all the rain we had 2 weeks ago, I understand things got pretty deep up around Miami River and some other places. Is there anything that you've seen or heard about that may require some fixings this summer that you are or aren't budgeted for? Like, it's not as bad as Halloween storm, obviously, right? You don't have that kind of damage,
No.
right? But that river floods sometimes takes out the edges of the culvert and sometimes doesn't. right?
Correct, so what he's talking about, I believe you're talking about is in Miami?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just didn't know if there was anything else either, I just,
No, I groomed Friday night afternoon, and the river still flooded, and this didn't help. So the Miami has always been for 10, 15 years, always floods in the spring when we have melt up. The river is congested downstream and it backs up and floods over the road. Well, the state, probably 4 years ago, decided to create a dam on the downhill side of the road, and they put in a 5-foot embankment for a couple 100 feet long alongside that road. So now when the river comes up,
goes right down the river.
well, no, the bridge is here, the river goes down this way, the dam alongside the road is here, so when it backs up, their idea was it wouldn't back into the road. Well, so what it does is goes back underneath the bridge, and then comes around this way, and now it can't get out, because they have this 5-foot berm there. So they've literally created a dam. It's now, the water can't drain out of it, because it's downhill, so it just sits there. And being that it's Lime Timber's land, state easement, it states, mandatory whatever to fix the road, and this was their idea and expense. So try to go back and tell the state of New York after they went through the whole process of getting this approved by the APA and everything else, and then say, hey, guess what? It doesn't work. Build the whole road up 5 feet, which was expensive for them, which they didn't want to do, then it would be, you know, the water can go on this side and go on that side, there's a bridge already there. There is an engineer involved, I am sure of it.
For our purposes though, wouldn't it be something that Lime people, jobbers in there will bring to the state's attention?
No,
before
because
us?
they won't log up in there at this,
They're done.
yeah.
I think,
They're, when it gets to spring breakup, they're
Oh,
already
they
out
can't.
of the woods.
Yeah, they can't do it then.
This little breakup here would have maybe slowed them down, but, you know, they would have said, okay, we'll go back in a couple weeks and get the logs, or this, you know, spring. But,
And the camp owners can't get in there anyway, so it doesn't
No.
affect them either.
no. It is strictly the snowmobile trails that it affects, and they, quote unquote, you know, did it to save their land, did it, whatever.
Right.
All they did is made it worse, and I've told several people this, and I've told, well, now the guy's not there that I thought I had a little ground with, and he understood, he was from the south, and he's like, why would they do this? And I said, I don't know. Make it go away, and he says, yeah, that's not gonna happen, they spent a lot of state money to do this, and now it's here, and it's here to stay, so.
so that's fine, I mean, that's a way better answer than I needed, I just was curious if we had, I wasn't clear on who owned the responsibility for that.
Same here.
And I wondered if that was something that was gonna dry up and leave us with a bill,
No,
as opposed to
no,
just
it's,
to be able to.
it's every year to
Because I
run this.
knew we were the only ones that cared about it, frankly, was to be able, in the summer, to to get over it,
Right.
by trucking car or Jeep, or in the winter by snowmobile.
Right.
And I'm not so worried about the snowmobile even, because you can always fill it in with snow and groove over it, whatever the sides look like, right? But anyway, all right, I appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah, when they put the new bridge in, they built that up. But
Right.
now when it floods, you've got the bridge and
Yeah.
water.
You got a high spot and a high spot, and now they put this dam in the middle of it, and it just holds all the water down. No water can't get out. I even, you know, went way downstream the last time, a couple weeks ago when I did it, and busted a hole through the snowbanks so that water could drain, but that was 200 feet away of water this deep in the trail. I mean, it's just, not to use the word, but it's just asinine that, you know, this was built. But it's every year now, so.
Got it,
That's it?
another west lot, yes, that's all it is. Thank you.
We'll end up having a poker on.
Yeah.
That's it.
Anybody else for public
And
comment?
the backhoe goes
Eileen?
through.
Lynn? No? Okay, so we'll start with roundtable. Stephanie, do you have anything?
Nope, nothing.
Okay, Randy, do you have anything for roundtable? Kathy? No? Michelle?
I actually would like to share this. This is something we've been working on at the county. It's not our first year, it's actually our 16th time hosting our annual birding festival. A lot of people aren't really aware of that going on every year. I think this is the first time we've held it since 2019 because of COVID. We opened registration for this today. We already have almost 40 people registered,
Oh, nice.
which is like a record number for the first day of registration. And there are five trips that we're hosting here in Speculator and Lake Pleasant, and 2 in Conseco, and then there's 16 total, so the rest are spread throughout the county. Just wanted to
So
share
that's a
that
lot
with you.
more in Lake Pleasant and Speculator, isn't it, than it used to be?
Yes, we've been growing it year over year
Yeah.
because we've been getting really
So
good
it's been
responses.
moving down
and-
lower in the county here, because it seemed like a lot used to be up that way,
Yes, yep.
and not a lot down by us. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
We've always done a lot in Indian Lake, Long Lake, that area,
Yeah.
but been trying to convince our guides to move down this way. And
Yeah.
starting to,
Yeah.
we're making use of the Sacandaga pathway and Perkins clearing and.
Cool, nice, nice. Okay, anything else?
Yeah,
That's great.
it's a little known, that Rochelle kind of teed it up, it's a little known hobby for most, that, I mean, Osborne used to come down and say, well, you know, what's the number one outdoor hobby, and everybody come up with bird watching in the country. But if it isn't your thing, you think that can't possibly be. Well, it's like, what's the most outdoor, it's gardening is the number one outdoor. Yeah, but if it's just in your circle, but if you get advertising and get 16 years in with it, it's remarkable if you're hitting the spots where birders read and hear about things, yeah, they come. And they stay overnight.
And that's why I'm impressed that you have, really brought it down into this area, because we used to get quite a few people stay at the motel,
Yeah,
but they'd have to leave really, really early in the
Yes.
morning to get to
Birding
the
is
events,
not
all the way like
All the
around
guided
town.
stuff, all the
Yeah.
guided stuff was not
Yeah.
there,
these trips start at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, so
yeah.
they were
See, that's
gone, and
the
they were
reason
gone all
that-
day, and you wouldn't see them till
Yeah,
nighttime,
early
so
bird
it's good that they're doing more around here.
Yeah, we're really
I'm
trying
gonna
to
watch
expand it.
balloons. They scream
But we
it.
have people,
Listen, I think they're here.
they are, I've seen a couple, I saw a bald eagle today too.
I saw a bunch of loons in the outlet there on Lake Pleasant
Yeah.
today, twice. There had to have been 8 of them.
When they do these,
Yesterday, saw a bald eagle up on the mountain.
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
oh yeah, we got lots of.
Yeah, we have one on Oxbow all winter.
The guided tours, is there anything specific, any species specific that is like,
Every trip in here lists what they expect to find in that area. Every area is a little bit different.
Sure.
We're looking at springtime is like boreal birds that are moving.
yeah, all the birds that should be migrating should be back, right? at
Yeah.
that point?
We have people that come from all over the country. I register people who come every year from Texas. They just come up specifically for this festival. I have people coming up from down near Miami, Florida, all over the country.
Yeah, I believe it. It's a big thing.
Yeah.
It really is a big thing, I
We're trying to
swear.
get the word out there and let everybody know that we're trying to bring people here.
In a tough season, it's a shorter
Yes,
season.
it's a shoulder
Sure.
season and it makes a huge difference. We try to get as many local businesses involved. We have a couple of planned dinners, those are actually happening further north because of other things that we have going on, like a presentation at the Aquatic Experience Museum. But we ask all of the local lodging facilities if they want to participate and offer any sort of deal
Sure.
to entice people to come in because, mid-June, you're probably not filling rooms.
Right. That's great,
When's
yeah.
the deadline for the survey that was sent out?
Oh,
About
The broadband, I don't know if there is a specific deadline, I haven't heard about an end of it, we're still like pushing it out, trying to get as many
Okay.
people to answer as
Because I'm gonna
possible.
start sending it out to our summer friends.
Oh, good.
Yes.
yeah, everyone should fill that out.
Yeah.
Did you get any comments from people on that survey? I had fits with it and I gave up.
I did it.
Christy Wilt is more so dealing with that in my
Okay.
office than me, I'm helping to push it out, but she's kind of dealing with the feedback.
Yeah.
I have not heard
An
anything from
I'm
her.
an IT guy in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Here you
I
are.
got frustrated by it and I
Huh.
gave up.
I was lucky.
Yeah,
I'm just
I
worried that
know.
anybody else is. I was gonna go back in and try it again and see if
Yeah.
I was just having
Your best bet might be to call Christy,
sometimes you can't
Yeah.
use certain browsers or I mean, you just.
Yeah, and it doesn't tell you at the beginning that you need certain information in order to
yeah.
No,
work.
that too, right? You get
Yeah, it's
all
like,
of a sudden,
wait a
I don't
minute.
have this, you know?
And then by the time you get back, you've lost
If you
your.
pick the wrong answer too, you go down the wrong path, so to speak, right? And
Yep.
it was a little frustrating, I'm just
We didn't
concerned
design it.
that,
Understood. Just dealing with it.
I'll bless Kristen,
Okay, Neil?
I
Not?
figured it was just me.
All my questions and concerns have been answered tonight.
Very good. Okay, Don?
Nope, I, with Neil, my questions have all been answered.
Okay, well, the first thing that I'm gonna bring up is and I'm hoping maybe Kathy has some information on the library doing Adopt a Highway. They discussed it this week.
The library met last week and discussion on the point person is Nancy Welch and she has done the research on it. And the board voted to do the 2-year commitment and see how it goes.
Can I make a suggestion? When you know, let us know so we can put it on our town website, get it on the chamber website. If you let us know at town hall, I mean, I certainly would be glad to jump in and do it. I don't mind.
That was
My
one of,
jeans
that was
on and
one of the
going out there.
concerns is,
Is volunteers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Betsy and I have done it for
Years.
years. I
Did one for
still,
years.
I still own 2 years. Part of my commitment to Mike when I sold was that he says, what am I gonna do for that thing? I said, don't worry about it. It's usually a once a year
They
heavy
say
cleaning.
they want twice.
And then I know, they'll take whatever they can get, trust me.
I just didn't want to be dealing with carcasses. There was discussion about carcasses.
Well, let's skip them.
Yeah, you don't touch
That's not
them.
litter.
That's not garbage, that's not.
Mother Nature's feeding.
But it's both a terrific, I think, a terrific public relations tool for a civic group or for a business to do this, to get your name out there, that you're, involved in your community. And as far as, it's usually a pretty good day, what we've had done lately in the last several years is link up with the regional.
Community cleanup.
Yeah, which also involves some school kids and so on. We wouldn't use any of them because that required more parents, more chaperones than we needed. We kind of hit them hard.
Yeah, we tend to go where people haven't adopted a section.
That's good.
Sure.
But, and in all honesty, we've done the Adopt a Highway for many years.
Mhm.
The hardest one is in springtime. In the fall, there's hardly anything,
Yes, not out there.
really.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Where have they
I'm willing to help.
mentioned
I
a
think it's a
spot?
great thing.
I will put you on,
Put me on the list.
Yeah,
ask
me
you on
too.
the, yeah.
Have they
Watch,
mentioned
we'll be
a
on
spot?
Mountain
The spot, there's a mile section
Yeah, okay,
just outside of
Outside
town.
good, okay, that's a
That's the one.
pretty easy one
That's,
too.
that's like the one we always did.
Well, it was one, we used to do the chambers for them,
Mhm.
and then our 2 miles for the Pleasant Riders,
Mhm.
and it was another one beyond that,
Which was lift.
yeah, the
And
lift.
Lyft doesn't do it anymore?
No, the lift program kind of exhausted, so, I guess they didn't re-up. But, it's been sitting there, I've seen the signs asking for it, and
Yeah,
it's a perfect,
that's the one.
exposure for it.
So we'll be able to get people on both sides of the roads and.
Yes, that's how you do it.
Well, as long as we're talking about that, I will bring up Community Pride Day, which is Wednesday, May 4th, the Chamber's putting on. It's their 22nd annual Community Pride Day for Hamilton County. I have a couple of copies here if anybody wants to take them, if you want to just volunteer to work on the roads, we have a lot of fun. And there's always a lunch within whatever town you're in to go to after the fact. If you have a business and you want to have your advertisement put on the back of the shirt, the information is up here. And if you have any added questions, you can just check with the Chamber of Commerce, and they'll give you the rest of the information. And I had that on my list too.
First year I came to this one, I wore a rainbow thing, because I thought it was
Oh,
something else.
no.
And then well, I mean, I was still there,
They give you free t-shirts, you
It
know.
turns out they do.
Okay, so I had told you folks a while back that I had gotten an email from NYMER, which is New York Municipal Insurance Reciprocal. We did receive $312.55 this week as a refund, which is just something that they've now done 2 years in a row. So we got that. And we have an ad in the Hamilton County Express announcing the BTI program this past week, letting them know that in the next couple of weeks that will be starting. If you see people walking around, that's what that is. We also have an ad in the Hamilton County Express this coming week. We're looking for a youth aid, for an aid for youth rec for the program, so we have that in the paper. If anybody knows anybody, they can contact Town Hall, or they can actually contact Samantha directly. So that will be in the paper this week.
Second will be put out for social media too, in our town Facebook page and all that,
Yep.
so we can share it
Want
on.
them?
Sure, I don't have access to the Facebook page though.
No, you don't. I'll get that to Nancy.
Okay.
Yeah.
The aid from last year is not returning, I take it from.
No. Okay. Next, Dave McCollum happened to stop in today just to touch base a little bit on the pathways. Pretty soon, when a little more snow goes away, he will be walking it just to check for downed trees, see how much work is to be done. He also has the signs that he is going to be pulling out in the next week and washing up. He washes them and dries them all and gets them ready and puts them back up in springtime. Randy and I have really been working a lot. Last week, we spent a couple of hours, just one afternoon, on the employee handbook. We have a few updates, so once we get that, a better gist of that, I actually have it in Word, so we'll make all the corrections, and then I'll send it out to you guys, so that you guys, everybody can go over it. We're looking for, if you have anything you want to add, any changes any of us think that need to be done, we'd like to hear from you on that.
How long will we have from the time you send it to us to the time it's supposed to be adopted?
Oh, we'll have time.
There's no.
Yeah, there's no deadline.
Deadline on this,
No.
it's something that we recognized over the last year or two. There's some spaces, a lot of it has to do with the way life has changed technologically and so on. How folks react to their managers and so on. So most of it, of course, Randy has the most employees in his department, but yeah, we need all the input we can get.
Yeah, we
So
really do.
When we update it, it's then good for another decade.
So we're just gonna kind of do the obvious things that stand out to us of issues that we've had going along in the past 2 years and saying we've got to get that in the handbook, we've got to change that. There's stuff that's not even in there that needs to be implemented.
Sure.
Trying to get rid of the gray areas.
And there's a lot of gray area. It's not black and white, it's like 90%
I've
gray.
I was very familiar with it.
Yeah, and I also have a copy of the county one in the office if anybody feels they want to compare once, so once we get further along, I'll let you know that. Next thing, this is just kind of like I'm touching on this just because I was approached and this is a question for the board. This individual would like to know if the board would like to entertain the idea of making the highway superintendent and the supervisor's position a 4-year term instead of a 2-year term. I'm gonna be honest with you, I've now been in here 2 years. I'm just really getting familiar, where Stephanie, being new, can come and ask questions, and usually 9 times out of 10 I have an answer. I know where to go to get the answer. 2 years is a very short time for a supervisor or a highway superintendent. Stephanie knows being in there, she's in for 4 years. It takes a lot.
Well, there's a lot.
There's so much to it.
But there's a lot of incongruity when a council term is 4 years, a clerk's term is 4 years. For the two arguably most important elected positions in the town are 2. And, you know, I've certainly been part of the turnover on this. And I think you can implement more of the agenda that voters ask you to implement in a 4-year way. And it's not that we're reinventing the wheel. Several of the towns in the county that were probably at one time 2-year have long since switched over to 4 on those 2 jobs.
There is a couple.
That does require a public road referendum.
Yes, and honestly,
That is a referendum.
I have no clue what's involved to get to that
I was
point.
reading.
So it's just something that I was approached about by an outsider. I didn't even touch base and answer the individual because they wanted to know what my appetite was for it. And personally, I mean, if I have to run again in 2 years, I have to run again, which I will anyway, no matter what. But I just feel for the next supervisor coming in and the next highway superintendent coming in, I just think that 4 years is much easier than trying to learn everything in 2 years, and you don't.
Well,
You really don't.
These are discussions and actions that are best had in the off year. And when you're talking about things that are every 2 years, they'll only invest time to do this, to get it started, that ball rolling, because that will take months. And that would be a regular referendum
Yes.
item, but it requires, you know, some movement if, as you say, there's an appetite for it. I, for one, am for it.
Yeah, and stagger the offices. Don't make them all at once. Highway superintendent, town supervisor are all elected in the same year. Because you'll have experience, and if we get 2 new people and there's very lack of experience for the offices, there's nobody to ask questions to.
Right, you can do
I
that.
see what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's, again, I think some of the best advice that folks could get on this are those towns that have gone through this procedure.
I truthfully have not looked into any of it. I haven't contacted, I know Long Lake is one. I have not contacted Clay to ask him any of the information. I kind of just wanted to get the feel from you before I even thought of anything, even looked into it. So why don't you all just, if you would give it some serious thought, and possibly I'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting, and then we can actually discuss it as a group, and if this is what the board wants, then we'll go ahead and do some research and start moving on it. Okay? You gonna do the homework?
We're gonna do it for me.
Me too.
He'll share it with us. Okay, so our next meeting will be Monday, March 21st, and yes, it is the correct date this time. And if nothing else, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
What's the matter, Kathy? Don, okay, second?
Second.
See you all on the 21st of March.
Ronnie is the
Thank you for coming.
I'm back and forth because my mother.
I do like to tag on with that.
Yeah.